Welcome to today's session, everyone.
We are PreMed CC, a student-led organization established in the fall of 2021.
Our goal as an organization was to create an online program for pre-medical students at community colleges and universities, with the hope of guiding the next generation of diverse and inclusive physicians.
And while we advertise our organization as being for community college students, our events are open to anyone.
We realize that finding guidance and mentorship in a pre-med journey can be especially challenging for first-generation pre-med students,
people that lack the financial resources, or just those who do not know people in the medical field.
One of the best parts about our events is that they are virtual, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home.
We typically have events on Fridays from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 12:30 Pacific Standard Time.
If you aren't able to attend the event, all of our sessions are uploaded on our YouTube channel.
Many of our sessions will end up with a Q&A with the speakers.
Any questions that you have, you may put it in the Q&A session on Zoom, and our team members will read them and have them answer.
After you have attended our event, you can log into our website and complete the quiz, which will contain questions pertaining to our session today.
If you score 70% or higher on the quiz, you will be awarded a certificate to show that you attended our session today.
If you want to stay connected with the upcoming events or just want to tell your pre-med friends about the PreMed CC, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as @PreMed CC.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We have the great honor of having Mr. Richards, who is the Director of Admission at Keck USC School of Medicine. Mr. Richards provides leadership in the area for recruitment and outreach for the MD program, MD, MBA, MD, MPH for Keck School of Medicine. Prior to this position, he was one of the leaders for the Keck School of Medicine's curriculum department for examination development for the MD program. He has experience in human resources, which, you know, somebody who works, that's always not a good thing, go see human resources. But anyways, talent development and organizational effectiveness. He's passionate about his lifelong learning, and enjoys speaking with prospective applicants and educational organizations representatives about many opportunities that Keck School of Medicine has offered. He has his bachelor's degree and a master's degree from Cal State Northridge. Great honor to have him join us again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jovine. Happy to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about an overview of Keck School of Medicine, a little bit about our program, and a couple of other things about our admissions process, our selection process, and then I'll open it up for questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about our school, our program, or our admissions practice. Anything that you want to ask, I'm happy to try and answer for you. I'll just say at the start, you know, I'm here to represent Keck School of Medicine, but I'm hoping that I can give you some things to think about that will help you prepare when you get ready to apply to medical school, the things that will help you prepare to get into any medical school of your choosing, you know, not just a Keck School of Medicine, but hopefully you'll have some tools that will help you wherever you go to school. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint here. Hang on just a moment. Hopefully I won't mess this up. Can you guys see that? Are you seeing the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So the Keck School of Medicine, we're located in East Los Angeles.
You may want to just change the display setting to 1 because I think it's showing the split one.
Okay, sorry about that. Change the display setting to 1. I can do this. Hang on a second.
Yep, perfect.
That's good. All right.
Perfect.
Keck School of Medicine, we're located in East LA. We're about 10 minutes east of downtown Los Angeles. We're not on the same campus as the University Park campus. That's a little bit south of downtown Los Angeles. So we are on our own health sciences campus there in the Boyle Heights area. The slide you're seeing here shows a couple of our training hospitals. Los Angeles General Hospital is our main training hospital. Probably has one of the most diverse patient populations in the country. Definitely has one of, if not the biggest, one of the biggest trauma centers in the country, and that is our main training hospital. The patient population there, 75% of that population speaks Spanish. So we hope that people that apply to our program, are excited to come and join our physicians and faculty in providing healthcare to this population of folks. We're also affiliated with the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. We have another hospital on our campus, another couple of hospitals, the Keck Medical Center and the USC Norris Cancer Research Hospital, which is one of the NIH Centers of Excellence for Cancer Research. So these are all on our campus, and that just basically translates to access for our students. We are host to about 20 or so research institutes that are directly affiliated with the Keck School of Medicine. Couple of them there, you can see their banners. The Broad Center for Regenerative Medicine, Zilkha Neurogenic Institute, Children's Hospital, the Saban Research Institute, one of the few children's hospital that does research for cures solely for childhood diseases and illnesses. So we're very proud of those affiliations, and we're I think we're ranked overall about number 20 or so in research grant funding. So we have a pretty big research arm, a pretty big health care arm, as well as education. The Keck School of Medicine has has 21 master's degree programs. We have 2 undergraduate programs that are housed under the Keck umbrella, and 8 PhD programs. So it's a pretty big concern. It's a 3-pronged approach to educating physicians, providing healthcare, and advancing biomedical research. So like I said, all of this translates to access for our students. Students in our program, they can access these researchers, these world-class researchers and physician scholars. They can shadow them, ask questions of them, interview them. So that's kind of what you get in a Keck School of Medicine type of learning environment. So I represent the Doctor of Medicine program, and we also have an MD-PhD program that's connected with that, our dual degree program. That's in conjunction with Caltech. So any of the PhDs that are offered at Caltech or any of the Keck USC PhDs are open to applicants that are accepted into that MD-PhD program. We also have a couple of other dual degree programs that you see there, and those are available to our current students who are in their 2nd and 3rd year of medical school. Typically, people will wait and enroll in one of these master's degree programs between years 3 and 4 of the medical school curriculum. And then once they complete the master's degree, they will come back, or the master's degree coursework, they'll come back, complete year 4 of medical school, and then graduate after 5 years with both degrees. And we fully fund the Master of Public Health degree. We fully fund the tuition portion of that. There is funding for the MBA program, but it's not a full tuition type of funding, but there are funds available for that as well. So a little bit about some of the services we provide to our students. We have a full service wellness program that is led by two licensed clinical psychologists. They have embedded a wellness curriculum, excuse me, within the medical school curriculum. So wellness is a big part of student life here at the Keck School of Medicine. This wellness program has been up and running now for, fully operational, I'd say for the last 5 years or so. I've been here for 10 years, and when I first started here, they were just starting to kind of beef up the wellness initiative. And now it's a full-blown program and a really much needed and valued part of the Keck academic environment. And when I'm done with the slides, I'll put a link in the chat so that you can visit their website, their webpage, get an idea of the types of services that they provide to our students. We also have a great academic support unit that is led by two PhDs in the hard sciences that lead our academic support. And these are some of the features of their program: academic counseling, peer-led tutoring programs, workshops. They provide every resource available to our students to help them meet the demands of our medical school curriculum. Our Office of Diversity and Inclusion is a hub of activity for our students. They are affiliated with some of the affinity groups, some of the social justice, student interest groups, and they coordinate a lot of activities between students, staff, and faculty. So they're pretty inclusive department, and they provide a lot of like cross pollination, if you will, of staff and faculty and students here at Keck. We have over 80 different student interest groups, and the themes or missions of those groups range from medical subspecialties such as like cardiovascular, reproduction, musculoskeletal, all of those subspecialties, to social justice clubs. We have one SIG that's really popular called street medicine. They go out in the streets and they serve the homeless populations in and around LA, downtown LA, greater Los Angeles area. And our students, and this is kind of like a frontline way that students can get involved in community engagement activities through the student interest groups. They all have their own kind of community engagement agendas. They all have faculty mentorship. They set their own agendas. Some of the SIGs are, like a couple of them are connected to Bravo High School, which is a high school on the edge of our campus. It's a medical magnet high school. They go there, they teach classes, they create opportunities for kids to come on to campus, learn suturing, and just kind of get acclimated in this academic environment, and hopefully encourage them to look at careers in the health professions. So the student interest groups, they do a lot for the community, and they do a lot in kind of helping the community and Keck, the organization, engage, and engage one another and kind of create a synergy amongst each other. Our residency match rate is typically about 97% year after year. I think the last one was 98%. So we're once people do graduate from the program, we're pretty good at getting them jobs in residency programs, which is that's a big plus. These are some of the specialties that people match in. Internal medicine seems to be the highest year after year. Class of 2022, that's the graduating class of 2022's match match numbers there, psychiatry, pediatrics, emergency medicine. These are all pretty popular, and this kind of the top three are usually the top three year after year that people that people choose. Here's a snapshot of our class of 2026. I haven't had a chance to update our incoming class that's coming in August yet. We're still finalizing that class. But our class size is 186 each year. And these numbers are pretty constant year after year. We have a lot of science majors, people that were science majors in their undergraduate academic careers, but we have a growing number of people that were liberal arts majors, people that are kind of like mid-career changers that are coming in and applying applying to get into the program and succeeding in doing so. I think in the last couple of years, we've had over 80 people in each class that had been out of school for 2 years or more before they were accepted into the program. So a lot of people take gap years before coming into medicine or coming into our program, and I think they're better applicants for doing so. There you can see our median MCAT and median GPA. Remember, the median is only the halfway point. So half of our 186 people were above that and half were below those numbers. So the application cycle, like I said, we're just trying to put the class of 2027 to bed here, and we're already gearing up to start sending out invitations to complete our secondary application for the class of 2028. We haven't started sending those out yet. We hope to start next week. We're just trying to wrap up a few things before we get going, but we will start sending those out, and we will start actually interviewing the end of August, and we will interview all the way through the beginning of March of next year. We're on rolling admissions, so the sooner that applicants get their applications into the system, the better. But we will be, the application cycle closes December 1st, but we will be inviting people to interview with us through February. So it's a very long and fluid process. You know, we start accepting people in October 15th, and people accept our offer, December, then by December, they've, found someplace closer to home, and they drop out, and then we get someone else. And so it's kind of a back and forth for quite some time throughout the cycle. You can see the MCAT, valid MCAT dates there for this next upcoming cycle as well. We probably have one of the most liberal application practices of any school in the country. We don't have any prerequisites. We leave it up to the individual applicant to decide, their best course, their best way for them to prepare that meets the needs of their individual circumstances. So we know that many schools require slightly different science classes and things like that. So to make it easy on people, we just let you prepare in the way that best suits you, and you can demonstrate your strong grasp of the sciences through your coursework that you choose. So that, I think that's a big plus, and gives you a lot of freedom and a little freedom in the way that you prepare for medical school applications. We do require that all applicants take the MCAT, and that they submit either a committee letter or individual letters. But we don't put any specifications on who writes the letters. It can be anyone of your choosing. So yeah, so it's a very, very liberal process. We are rooting for your success. All applicants that are accepted into the program must go through an interview process, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. Here are the core competencies. You can find these on the AMCAS website. You can just go there, search on core competencies, and this will come up with full descriptions of each one. But these are things that medical school reviewers are actually looking for in an applicant. You know, they're reading your personal statement, looking at your the way you write about your experiences in the experience section, and they're trying to discern whether or not you've given yourself enough opportunities to develop these core competencies. And the way I've heard it said by our Dean of Admissions is that, you know, the school can teach you the doctoring part, but these competencies you have to bring to school with you. We can't uniformly teach everyone these competencies. So we rely on you to do the work in your preparation to develop these competencies, and not only develop them, to be able to articulate their benefit to you, what they mean to you, and so forth. You know, we look to you to create a narrative about your preparation, your motivation for wanting to become a physician, your values and interests, and we'd like to hear, you know, how you have developed these competencies. I think a lot of people, metrics are important. I'm not gonna say it's not. The MCAT, you know, you want to do well on the MCAT, you want to do well in school, get good grades, you know, have a decent GPA, but that's only a baseline measure of your ability to get through our curriculum. After that, we really are looking to see what type of person you are and what makes you tick as a human being. And I think a lot of people kind of lose sight of that with the whole metrics game. So do not lose sight of these competencies. We even use these competencies as a rubric in the interview process. So, you know, the interviewer will be, you know, trying to ascertain your grasp of these competencies, your development of these competencies in the interview process. So very, very important. And I only labor on that because I know if you go to the AMCAS website, this is going to look like boilerplate stuff. And you're like, yeah, of course. But no, really, you need to dig into these and kind of use these as kind of a guiding or kind of a way of looking at your experiences through the lens of these competencies, and you know, making sure you see where, you know, they show up in your development, in your background. So the application process, we do traditional interviews. You'll interview with one student and one faculty member, and each interview will be about 30 to 40 minutes. We try to make it as low stress as possible. There's no like multi-mini interviews or no gotcha questions or anything like that. At this point, the screeners that have selected you for an interview, they already believe like this person looks like a good fit for us, and we think they can get through our program. We just want our interviewers to meet them and ascertain that they are a good fit, and get to know them a little bit and answer questions of the applicant, and let the applicant kind of get to know or get a feel for our folks as well. So it's not for us, for our school, it might be different for other schools, but for our school, this is not a time to you know, like showcase your bullet points of accomplishments or anything like that, because at this point we know you are accomplished already. So we just want, you know, you to have a normal conversation, you know, with our folks. So basically, the interview, like I said, will last about 30, 40 minutes. The interviewer will submit an evaluation to one of the admissions subcommittees. These subcommittees, there's 6 of them. Each subcommittee is composed of 3 faculty members and 1 student, and they meet about every 2 weeks. They'll go through a batch of applications, typically anywhere from 12 to 15 applications, and they'll look at all of your applicant material plus the interview evaluation, and then they'll decide whether or not you are accepted or waitlisted or not accepted into the program. And I should have mentioned, the interview is blind interviews. The interviewers know nothing about you. They only know your name. They don't know anything about your academics or anything. So they are just going on what they see and hear in the interview process. But the AdCom folks, they will see all of your information plus the evaluation. Once the interview takes place, once it's completed, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to receive a decision. Sometimes later in the cycle, December, January, it could take a little bit longer because the kind of bottlenecks are during that part of the cycle. But we do eventually let everyone who has applied, we either interview them or not, or we waitlist them, or we let them go after the interview. But everyone gets notified of their status at some point in the cycle. So successful candidates, to a person, they all have these things. They have a strong intrinsic motivation, meaning they want to be physicians for the right reasons, not merely because their sister's a lawyer and their father says that they need a doctor in the family. They themselves have a strong desire to be of service to others, and they demonstrate that in the way they craft their narrative and talk about themselves in the application and in the interview process. They all have meaningful extracurriculars. When I talk to our students, to a person, you get the sense that they would be volunteering and doing a lot of these extracurricular activities, even if they weren't trying to go to medical school. They're not just doing it just for medical school, So the way they talk about these experiences are impactful because of that. They have well-articulated values and a personal sense of mission that is very important. It's not enough just to have good grades and a good MCAT score and have umpteen hours of volunteering someplace. And no, you have to articulate your values. You have to let the reviewer and the reader, the interviewer, know like why you're doing this, why this is important to you, and how you have prepared yourself to succeed in this. So your writing skills will be at a premium when you are putting together your application material. And finally, here's some resources. The MSAR, great resource, you got to have that. The National Association of Advisors to the Health Professions is basically the professional development organization for the pre-health advisors in the various colleges and universities around the country. And if you don't have an application pending, you can go to their website. I think it's under the membership section, and you can request to get guidance from a pre-health advisor free of charge. Our Keck School of Medicine website has a lot of great information there. I suggest that you check out our curriculum page. It has a really great detailed description of our curriculum there. The diversity and inclusion page, they have a few summer programs. A little too late for this summer, but they have summer programs that they offer that are pretty cool that you might want to check out. And that link tree, I'll put that link in the chat as well, but it has links to a lot of different components of our program. There's a link to the curriculum there. There's a link to the Office of Community Engagement, the Keck Office of Community Engagement, which is like the more formal arm of our community interface program, aside from the student interest groups. We have links to the academic support as well as the wellness program there, narrative medicine program. There's a bunch of different links that you might find interesting.
We will post the PowerPoint so everybody will have access to these links.
Okay, great. And medadmit@usc.edu. You can reach me there. My name, like I said, my name is Mike Richards. I can't give you any personalized advice, but I'm happy to answer any questions about our program, our application process, or anything like that. So feel free to email me there. And with that, we'll open it up for questions if I can figure out how to end this thing.
Yeah, and so I will just go down the list, and please, I know we have a lot of questions and we'll try to get all of them answered. Just so one huge favor I have is just don't repost your question, because then it just delays it. So the first question, do you have any tips for MD, PhD application and people that are applying this cycle?
Yeah, I would say, MD PhD is very competitive. We get about somewhere around 250 applicants to our program each year. We accept about 4 people each application cycle. Obviously, people that apply to that program, they have significant research in their portfolio. They don't not all of them have necessarily like published a paper, like been the author of a paper, but many of them have been a part of, pretty significant research experiences, and they can really talk, describe those experiences in quite some detail. So, you want to make sure that you are kind of, up on your game when you apply to that program. Also, both the MD side of the house and the PhD side of the house will review your application. So like all of the things I mentioned for regular MDs just a moment ago, the competencies, you need to still be doing that. You can't just, because you have this great research resume, you can't just think, I'm a lock for this because, how great your research resume is. We want to see service orientation. We want to see all those competencies in your body of work as well. So I would say don't give short shrift to the regular MD side of the application process as an MD PhD student.
So this person has a question. What are you so for the MD PhD, this is kind of a follow-up, is it specifically a PhD in biosci, or is it a PhD in public health that would also be accepted?
Yeah, it can be a hard science or any of the PhDs that are offered at the Keck School of Medicine and some in the broader USC, under the broader USC academic realm. But yeah, any of the Caltech hard sciences PhDs, any of the Keck PhDs, and any of the or some of the PhDs that are offered by USC, the University Park campus. The way it works is once you're accepted into the program, you will complete the first 2 years of the regular MD program. And after each of the first 2 years, you'll do lab rotations. And after the second year of lab rotations, you will apply to whichever research group that you want to be a part of. And then you will get accepted into your research group. You will go away for anywhere from 3 to 7 years, depending on what your research is. Then you will come back and complete years 3 and 4 of the medical school curriculum. Another part of that is we provide a $35,000 a year stipend to people that are accepted into that program, and of course it's free of charge as well.
Okay, the other question is this is actually, we're getting a lot of questions for, and this is a group of them, so I'm just going to ask but about the Supreme Court's decision on affirmative action, and how does it affect Keck School of Medicine's decision on admission and diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I don't see how that will have any impact on the way we operate at all. Our process is competency-based, holistic and competency-based. So, we don't like have quotas or anything like that. So yeah, I don't see anything that we do changing at all.
Yeah, this is actually, there's a series of questions about that, and so I'm just going to ask that one question. The other thing is, just remember, if you're in California, we have Prop 209 that passed 27 years ago.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago, that basically California has been functioning under that for 27 years. This is a question somebody asked, is based on the mission statement, is Keck still an ideal school for physicians that want to consider primary care or emergency medicine with an interest in serving urban communities? Can you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is our mission. Keck was actually started off as the USC Medical College in 1885 in the same area, almost serving this, the same demographic of people. So yeah, service orientation, like I said, is a big part of our mission. The LAC, USC County Hospital, that's why people want to come to our school, to train there and train in that environment with that patient population. So yeah, it is. I think it's an ideal school to go to and learn to become a doctor. I might be missing part of that question there.
So I would just add to this, and this is because I know I work in emergency medicine, is it is the oldest emergency medicine residency program in the country. It is the largest emergency medicine residency in the country, and Los Angeles General Hospital is the busiest hospital. I think it sees like 180,000 patients a year. So emergency medicine, like USC, was one of the places emergency medicine really started, and pretty much emergency medicine and trauma and primary care. I think it has the second largest primary care residency program in the country. So yeah, so but again, pretty much any medical school would prepare you for any kind of residency you want to go into, but I can tell you emergency medicine in USC, they're like, they've been around for a long time. So the other question is, somebody asked about how does USC help students match into residency or outside of Keck, and what else do residencies look for besides grades and test scores?
Yeah, residency. Well, what we do to help students prepare, like right now, our people that are just rising fourth year students are starting the whole residency preparation process. And if you go to the curriculum link there, you'll see some more information about it. But a large part of their fourth year is called transition to residency. And we call that phase of the curriculum individuation and transformation. And it's a phase of the curriculum where we try to help students put it all together and develop their own sense of who they want to be as professionals once they do go to residency. And we help them prepare for that. We have interview coaching, a lot of interview prep. We have a lot of faculty that have connections around the country. That's why our residency match rate is so high. Like even people like initially, like in the last match, there were like 5 people out of the, I think there was 170 people or so that were in the match, and like 5 people didn't match immediately. So our career advising student affairs faculty, they get on the phone and they find other alternative matches for those people. And so we say the rate is 97% those are people that didn't, those 5 people didn't match initially, but by the end of that week, Friday of that week, they had a program to go to. So
And
a lot of schools don't do that. You don't, you don't match, then, you're just kind of left to your own devices. But at Keck, they will do everything they can to make sure you get into a program.
And the only thing that I would add is if you go to a US medical school, certainly one that's ranked in the top 20 or 30, you shouldn't be worrying about the match at this point. Like, this is kind of like saying, I'm going to run a marathon and I'm worried about what kind of shoes I'm going to wear. Like, you have like so many other things to think about as a pre-med student that the match shouldn't be an issue. And even if you don't match, there's this thing called SOAP and there's this thing called jump ball. So you will be able to have a job in, and unemployment for physicians is so low that the Department of Labor does not keep a track. So all of you guys are worried about match and residency. Like, this is kind of like so far in advance that you shouldn't be worrying about this. You should be worrying about how to do better on your MCAT, maybe your application, research, and worrying, like, you only have 168 hours in a week, and worrying about the residency and match, it's kind of like, so yeah.
Yes.
And I know, and there's people that start medical school and they say, I want to become a neurosurgeon, and they end up being a pediatrician. So there's a whole wide range of that. And so this is something that people are asking about secondaries. And so when do secondaries come? And does Keck USC screen for secondaries before sending out secondaries? And what is the role of the secondary? And I think I asked this one is, do you have to get, or do you have to send a secondary before an interview?
Yeah, everyone who completes the primary application and has an MCAT score posted will receive an invitation to complete our secondary. And the role of our secondary is really, I don't know if, I'm sure many of you may have looked it up, but it's on Student Doctor. They have all of the questions there, but it's a very low key kind of thing. It's some of the questions are like, what's the most fun you've had lately? If you had to give yourself a nickname, what would it be? If you had if you were very wealthy, how would you allocate your charitable contributions and things like that? And these are just things that just allow you to kind of give an indication of your personality, to kind of show a little bit, humanize your application a little bit more. There's no like psychological, thing, associated with that, or no deep thing. Our students give us these questions and we post them, and it just gives people a chance to talk and just kind of show who they are a little bit. So it's not very technical on our side. Some schools, they might be a little different, but our school is very, very low key in that regard. Also, you have to complete the secondary before you are considered for an interview. The evaluation on your application won't start until the secondary application has been submitted.
So this is a question kind of the Keck curriculum. How is it different from other, what's the Keck curriculum and how is it different from other programs? And then what type of learning style does Keck USC utilize?
Yeah, I'd say the learning style is small group problem-based learning. Basically, we break our 186 students into various cohorts. Their main cohort will be like their kind of home base will be 24 students with 2 faculty physicians, and that will be their home base cohort, their home base learning community for the first 2 year and a half. They'll also be broken up into other 6 to 8 person groups with 1 faculty member, and they'll meet twice a week. And we have a program called Introduction to Clinical Medicine, where they meet twice a week. They learn how to take histories on patients. We have standardized patients come in and act out illnesses. in coordination with our curriculum or whatever organ system that they might be in. They will be learning how to take histories for whatever illness is being discussed in that organ system, and they will go to the hospitals and take histories on actual patients in that same vein. So, like if you're in the cardio organ system, you're going to see cardio patients. We're going to have cardio simulated patients acting out cardio illnesses. And that's your first year and a half of medical school. There are a couple of other, or at least one other cohort as well, and it has to do with the health justice and systems of care component of our program, which is a longitudinal 4-year component of our program where we train or teach students to recognize healthcare inequities in systems and how to address those inequities within the framework of their role as a physician, how to advocate for patients where needed. That's part of the training, and it also comes with a certificate of completion at the end of the 4 years as well. That's one thing that I think makes our curriculum possibly makes it a little different from other schools. That health justice component is built into the curriculum. It's not something that just happens, just because we're a bunch of good people and we want to do the right thing. It's embedded in the curriculum, and it's a deliberate part of the learning environment. I think one thing that we do really well, early immersion with the introduction to clinical medicine, that starts in the 2nd or 3rd week of medical school and lasts for the first 2 years of medical school. So by the time our students get to the clerkship rotations, they are well versed on how to function on a medical team. They know where everything's at. They know many of the people that they will be working with, in the hospitals already because they've been exposed to them for the first couple of years. They are high. I think our students are very high performing in their clerkship years. I've heard doctors say that they perform almost as good as some of the residents that they work with. So the program is all about early immersion in the doctor-patient relationship environment, and just arming our students with the tools they need to be successful and get through medical school and prepare to be professionals.
Another question is, are there requirements to have a teaching credential to be part of the community education opportunity?
No, there's no requirement for a teaching credential, but we do have a master's in academic medicine, and some of our students who want to make teaching a big part of their professional life will do a master's in that, just to really learn how to teach medicine in the higher education environment. But there's no requirement for that for our students that come into our program.
So the one thing I would just add is the word doctor in Latin means to teach. So that's the whole. Anyway, sorry. The other question was, so there's a lot of questions about people asking about MCAT score, MCAT range. What's the MCAT range if somebody has a 495 versus a 501? What can you talk a little bit about what it means? So mean is 517, I believe it was posted, and so can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. The median is 517 or 518. Our average is the average is about 510, 511, somewhere about there. The 10th percentile of our incoming class is somewhere about 505, 504. I think our last class, maybe 504 was the lowest MCAT score that we had. The highest was, I think, 525. So there's a lot of range. there. Like I said, when a reviewer looks at your MCAT score and your GPA, they're just basically trying to see, like, with the resources that we have available for our students, can this person get through our medical school curriculum? And that's the extent of that. They're not looking for people that are perfect in everything. They expect people to have some lapse in their academic performance in their undergraduate years. They don't expect everyone to have a 4.0 or anything like that. So, but they do want people that look like they have a good handle on their academic ability. So that's very important. But we provide every resource that you will need to get through medical school. So that's kind of the way they're looking at your MCAT score. Like, a great MCAT score is important, but what's more important is the way you talk about yourself. You can probably go on the internet and find people talking about, like, they have high MCAT scores, 4.0s, and they never even get an interview. So probably because other components of their application maybe weren't resonating with the reviewers. So
Another question, what kind of extracurricular activities are good for being a good medical school? What do you want people to do in terms of extracurricular activities to get into Keck?
Yeah, we want people to do whatever is near and dear to their heart. But look at that part of your application and your preparation process as, you're just exploring, right? And you're giving yourself opportunities to, number one, make sure that medicine is the right field for you. So we're looking at your activities to see, like, has this person really given themselves enough opportunities to really even, in the healthcare setting, in this kind of service orientation mode, to even say that they legitimately foreclose on a career in medicine. So that's one thing we're looking for. So we want people to actively explore in the course of their preparation. We want to hear, what has these experiences you have, how has that helped you? How is that going to help you in the future? How is that aided in your growth and development? We don't really have any particular areas that, like, all students have to do this or that. But I think, the more opportunities you have to be in a healthcare setting, or with a team of medical professionals, the more a reviewer can look at that and say, yeah, they've seen the landscape, and they can legitimately make the decision to go forward with this. That's kind of really what they're looking for. But as far as hours and things like that, it varies widely from applicant to applicant. I've seen people with volunteer, clinical volunteer experience, with 40 hours. I've seen some with thousands of hours. So, all get both, getting accepted into the program. So it's not really about the numbers per se. It's about the experience and the way you portray that experience.
This is another question. Is patient care hours required for applicants?
They're not required, but nearly all applicants that apply to the program have some number of hours in interacting with patients, or just being kind of in that environment, being be it shadowing or whatever type of function, scribing or whatever. Just most people have some of, at least some of that. And like I said, the more of that you have, the more that puts to rest, or puts at ease the reviewer, and feeling confident that this person, they know what they're getting themselves into. Because one of the things that reviewers are guarding against is accepting someone into the program who is on the fence still. They want people that have surveyed the field and have, you know, they're all in on a career in medicine, and they know what they're getting themselves into. So, you know, so you know, another thing I would say about all of this experience thing, I think you need to do these experiences, you know, and use them as a tool for your own personal growth and development. You know, that should be kind of the way you approach it, because then when you write about it and talk about it, it's going to be genuine, you know, it's going to be authentic. It shouldn't be something that you're just checking the boxes on, because everybody, you know, all medical students are going to check the same boxes. So, you know, you got the volunteer experience, you got the health, you know, the clinical experience, you got the good grades, you got the personal state. Everybody's checking all those same boxes, but not everybody is, like I said, articulating their values and their sense of mission to a degree that really resonates with reviewers, and that's really what they're looking for. So, you know, I look at our students that we accept. I read their personal statements and I talk to them, and I'm telling you, they all look like they would be doing this stuff even if they were going to be auto mechanics, you know. And I think that's kind of the approach you have to have. And another reason for that is, like, not everybody's going to get into medical school. And so you don't want to just do all of this box checking without any personal fulfillment at all, and then not get accepted to medical school. You know, how much of a downer would that be? You know, you want to be able to, like, even if you don't get into medical school, you want to have feel accomplished. Like you have, you know, you have put a really big piece of your life's puzzle together in establishing yourself in this preparation. You shouldn't, you know, don't take that lightly. You know, this is a lot of time and effort you're going to put into this. And, you know, make it count for something. If you do have to go to a different profession or a different vocation, you know, the things you learn in this preparation will benefit you there as well. So don't just look at it as just checking off boxes.
Yeah, no, this is a really important thing. And I guess, you know, this goes back into, you know, it's, if you're passionate about something, you're more likely to talk about it more with a passion than to say, yes, I went to, you know. So yeah. So this is something somebody was asking. They're an older student who struggled with their education early on before they left and joined the military. And then after they came back, they did a post-bac at community college and CSU. And they scored about 3.9 GPA, and now their median and average for science in general is 3.55. And so do you look at those increased trends favorably, or do you look at the earlier poor performance?
They, you know, they look at all of your academic record, but yeah, you know, bounce back is value. You know, we have a lot of, like I said, over about 80 people in our last incoming class had been out of school for 2 years or more, and you know, many of them had to do a post-bac because they didn't even know they wanted to be physicians when they were in their undergraduate career. So, you know, they had to take classes, go to community college to take classes. And they, you know, they subsequently did well, and yeah, that's highly valued. And a lot of it depends on, you know, how you tell the narrative or shape the narrative of that. Like, just from hearing that, like, I don't know anything about this person, but you know, that's pretty powerful, man. You know, to not do well in school, you know, sounds a lot like me, to be full disclosure. You know, not do well in school initially, and then as an adult, like, kind of regroup and focus and put in a meaningful effort and do well. I mean, that counts for something. And you know, one of the competencies is resiliency and adaptability. You know, the ability to continuously improve. So, you know, those things would not be lost on a reviewer. You know, you just need to you need to highlight those things in your narrative so that they're prominent.
And the other question is, somebody wanted to know, do you accept community college transfer students, people that have, so you can't transfer from community college to medical school. You can you have to have a bachelor's degree, but what percentage of students that you have accepted at Keck USC attended community college, and do you accept community college prereqs?
You know, I don't have a hard number, but many of our accepted students started off in community college. I'm going to have to get that number, but if you email me at my email address, I'll get that number for you. But yeah, I haven't looked at that. That's but we have many of our students that have community college experience.
So how do you weigh the post-bac GPA versus the undergraduate GPA?
You know, we you know, after undergrad, anything you do after your undergraduate work, we expect you to excel. You know, we feel, I think reviewers feel that, I'm not a reviewer, by the way, but they feel like by that point, and if you're serious about a professional career, you should have your academic abilities, you know, on point by that point. So we expect that you do well. When you do a post-bac or a master's degree or something like that, you know, you need to do well in those classes. You can't be all over the place with that. So, but yeah, it's looked upon favorably. It shows, you know, like you're serious about this. You're committed to improving, to, you know, be prepared for the medical school experience. Yeah, it's definitely looked upon favorably when you do well.
This is another question: is do classes that are taken for the MCAT have to be less than 5 years old?
It doesn't really. There's no expiration date on your coursework, but the MCAT, like you have to take that within 3 years of like matriculating into the program. So like, you know, all the people that are going to enter into the program this 2023 in August, you know, they need to have taken that MCAT between January of 2020 and September 30th of 2022. But as far as coursework or anything, now we don't put like an expiration date on that. Some schools I think do look at that, but you know, we don't do that.
Another question is, people want to know what the absolute minimum GPA that a student can apply to medical school at Keck, and what's the absolute minimum MCAT for MD admission.
Yeah, we don't have any cutoffs. You know, every applicant has a human being review their application. But like I said, our last incoming class, I think the lowest MCAT was like 504 or 503. I can't remember which, because I remember another year we had 504, 503, but that seems to be about the lowest each year. But it's not like a cutoff. That just happens to be the lowest MCAT in our class of 186. That can vary. GPA, I don't know that we've ever accepted anyone with a GPA less than 3.0, but I'm not sure about that because I don't really focus on that as much as I do the MCAT, because I get asked the MCAT question so much.
So the other question is, do Keck USC accept international students or students that are from outside of California?
Yeah, we're a private school, so we don't have any like state of residence requirement or anything like that. It usually works out that about 70 to 75% of people are in state and 25% are out of state. International students are eligible to apply. We don't accept a whole lot of international students for whatever reason. I can't really explain it, but I think that the majority of we get about 8,500 applications each cycle, and I would say the vast majority of those applicants are California residents. So it kind of shakes out that we accept more California residents than any other category.
They do accept on citizenship is not a factor. This is a question that there's a couple of them. And I call it the secret sauce. Is what's the secret sauce for a good applicant to apply and get into Keck USC? Test score, volunteer, passion, personality. What's the secret sauce? And all these pre-meds here would go and create that secret sauce. So tell them what the secret sauce is.
I think that the secret sauce are all of those things, like the narrative you create, being a well-rounded person, with a vision for your future. But I think one of the main things is being authentic. Is in your written materials, in your interview interactions, is just speaking in your authentic voice and approaching it like you want the person to know who you are. So many applicants, the applications I read, people are like kind of guarded. They don't want to be too forthcoming. They want to give these these pristine application personal statements and things, but we want people that can just be themselves and speak in their authentic voice and let us know who you are. We get a lot of these applications, everybody's talking like, they just graduated from Harvard Business School or something. Not to knock Harvard Business School, but just that kind of like official language. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear you talking, like you talk to a friend of yours, and and approach it with like you're introducing yourself to somebody whom you want them to know you. Not like you're hiding stuff over here and only talking about this stuff. No, we want to know who you are, and so yeah, be forthcoming. Be competency based in the way that you talk about yourself, and be sincere. Those are the things that are going to make you stand out.
So a couple of people are worried about having to take gap years because of financial reasons and other things. How does Keck USC look at students that take multiple gap years?
Yeah, me personally, I think that people that take gap years are better off for it, because like I said, a class of 186 people, I think 80 people, that's like 40% of the class had been out of school for 2 years or more. And those applicants, and those students, they come in with so much experience, so much poise. They know who they are. They've worked through their process. They're very confident in who they are, their preparation. It's a big difference. Our average age is 24. So, people that have been out of school for a couple of years more, they're late 30s sometimes, and they just have seen a little bit more of life. They've got, most of them have like some, real work experience, real life experiences. And I think that bodes well for them. So yeah, we look at non-traditional students very favorably. Yeah, they make up a substantial part of our student body. And we've just had some very interesting, we've had people that have played in the NFL. We've had people that, production, this one guy, he was a production manager on Broadway in New York, mid-career, quit his job, went back to school, applied to medical school. He graduated from medical school. He was probably almost 40 years old. Like people like that. We had another woman. She was a performer in Cirque du Soleil before she decided to come to medical school. And one thing they all have in common, they're all like self-regulated learners. They plan. They put the foot down and they go for it. And these people were all in, with their preparation and their desire to get to medical school. So yeah, I think those people make great applicants, and kind of helps round out the vibe of the student body, so to speak.
So this is another question. How big of a factor is the GPA or the MCAT, and why is the GPA and MCAT important?
Like I said, the MPA, the metrics, the GPA and MCAT are probably the briefest part of the review of an application, because all a reviewer is really looking at in regards to your preparation for medical school is just, they're trying to gauge your ability to get through the medical school curriculum. So, they're looking at your science, your hard science courses, see how well you've done. They're, looking at your overall performance, the arc of your performance, to see what that looks like. And basically they just want to know, like, can this person with the resources that we can contribute, can they get through our curriculum? And that's as really as far as it goes, Other than that, now when the admissions committee starts, after you've interviewed, they start really like going through on a granular level with your application. Yeah, they're looking at your coursework. They're trying to determine like how well-rounded you are, what your interests are and things like that. In addition to that, but as far as the metrics for, just acceptability and, preparation-wise, yeah, we just want to make sure that you can get through the curriculum, because, that's a tragedy for the applicant and the institution if somebody is accepted into the program and they can't complete the program. That's a tragedy. So we try to avoid that.
Yeah, and the other thing about medicine is, one thing you should know is you take tests. You take the USMLE, you take shelf exams, you take board exams, you take residency exam, you take exams all the time. And this is why the MCAT is so important, is that like you should look at becoming a good test taker, because you're going to be taking it for the rest of your career. And so like learn those challenges that you have. If English is not your first language, then that's a challenge, and so try to overcome that. If test anxiety, there's a lot of resources that you may also have a learning disability, and there's ways around it. I mean, I have a really good friend of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon, and he's dyslexic. And he does various steps to make sure he doesn't mix up his right and his left. So there's a lot of people that have those, and so test taking is a skill. And just take this time in your undergraduate years to become a good test taker and practice and learn how you learn, because everybody learns differently. Some people are visual learners, some people are audio learners. So again, these are really important, and it's not that they're trying to be mean or they're trying to, but if you get into medical school and you can't pass your boards, you have $200,000 worth of debt and you can't practice medicine. So these are really, really important. Somebody wanted to know.
That's great advice. That is great advice. Learn to be a good test taker. Don't run from it. You just have to confront it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of like running a marathon, like it's hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So like learn, and there's a great book. It's by Malcolm Gladwell. And it's like, for you to be great at anything, you have to spend 10,000 hours doing it. So that's why if you do it full time, it's around 4.5 years. That's why the bachelor's degree was based on 4 years. Most people do it in 5 now, but all of these things are done for a purpose. There's people that are way smarter than you and I that figured these things out. So take this time to become a good learner, to become learning the material and be able to take tests. And because medical school, it's not easy. I mean, the information comes at you really fast. This is another question. Somebody wants to know, what degree of Spanish do you need to know to be at Keck, and just taking one Spanish class, is that enough? How competent do you have to be in Spanish?
Yeah. We don't evaluate on that in the application process. We do recommend that people have some Spanish, just because a large number of our patients are Spanish speaking. But there's no thing like, some people come into the program, they have no Spanish speaking skills. But we hope, and we do offer medical Spanish and other resources to help people kind of, get a leg up on their Spanish speaking skills. But whatever skills you can muster up before you get into a program is gonna benefit you and whomever you talk to. If you can just introduce yourself in Spanish to a patient, that is a blessing to that person. So that's kind of the way that's kind of how I look at it. There's no set proficiency level that you should have. Just to be familiar with it and try and improve on it little by little and use it in the healthcare setting will be a blessing for people. But if you do have decent skills, Spanish speaking skills, when you start that introduction to clinical medicine, you're gonna people are gonna be leaning on you in the when you're taking histories and things. So that is what would be a great thing to have. But I wouldn't look at it as like if I don't have at least 1 year of Spanish, then I'm not going to be accepted or anything like that. We don't evaluate for that, but we do encourage people to develop some Spanish speaking skills.
So somebody wants to ask about how many times can you apply to Keck USC School of Medicine for you to be considered?
I think we stated on our website that a third reapplication, an applicant will not be considered to be competitive. If you've applied once and then reapplied 3 times, you're probably not going to be considered competitive. And the thing is, we just send out these secondary applications. There's only 2 of us in that. There's the dean and there's me and there's one other person. So we don't have time to try to weed people out or anything like that. So we post that on our website. So people can apply that 4th time if they want, but there's no guarantee that their application is going to be considered at that point. So yeah.
The other question was if you have chronic illness or mental health challenges, what kind of support is that given, or if that's impacted your application, how is that counted against you, or if you talk about it?
Not necessarily. It depends. I mean, we do provide accommodations for folks who are accepted into the program. We have an Office of Accessibility, student accessibility at USC, and so people that need particular services are granted those services in the medical school. We do have what we call essential technical standards that every accepted students needs to be able to attest to, that they can fulfill, and that is on our website. If you go to our admissions page, and I think on the side you'll see a link to essential technical standards, and there's a full 2-page discussion of the physical, emotional, mental state that you will need to be in to be a student in the Keck School of Medicine. So I urge you to go there and take a look at that. But yeah, there's they provide our learning, our wellness specialists as well as our learning specialists. They can access accommodations for our students if needed. So and they're happy to do so.
Another question is what kind of if your letters of recommendations are over a year old by someone, how would they be viewed?
It's hard to say. We don't have a time limit on those. I think the most important thing is that the letters are, that the letter writer, writes a great letter for you, a letter that demonstrates that they know, they kind of know who you are and can attest to your abilities and, your preparedness for medical school. I think that's the most important thing. But I don't think you're going to get dinged because your letter is, over a year old or anything like that.
The other thing is the people were asking about special master's program and how are those viewed in terms of the MCAT? I mean, so there was the GPA, and then how are those viewed? And does you at Keck USC have special master's program?
Special masters, like you mean for our medical students?
No, like post-bac special masters.
Oh, yeah. There is a post-bac program. It's through the USC under the University Park campus. They're not affiliated with the Keck school, but yeah, there is a post-bac program. And if you go to USC's website and search on post-bac, their information will come up and with their application eligibility and things like that.
The other question was, is having a minor help you in any way? Is having a special major, is that viewed better than the other? And somebody was asking, like, I'm a chemistry major, is that going to hurt me since I'm not a bio major?
No.
And also if you go to a UC or a non-UC, are you a better advantage if you go to USC or not USC?
Yeah, it's I think the most important thing is that you do well in whatever program that you're in. Academic excellence is valued. Our reviewers aren't sitting around, weighing like what, the difference in undergrad schools or anything like that. This is too many of them. And as far as majors, our dean will tell you we don't care what your undergraduate major was. As long as you can demonstrate a proficiency in the sciences and do well enough on the MCAT to demonstrate your ability to get through our curriculum. We want you to choose a major that that you feel passionate about learning. And that will be of value to you in that sense. With that said, about 65% to 70% of our undergrads that we accept each year, or people that we accept in the program, they are science majors. A growing number though are liberal arts majors. So it just depends. And there's no like ranking, like someone who has a science degree isn't going to be like necessarily any more valuable than someone who is a music major, per se. So
yeah, but if you have more music majors, then they could put on a rock band for you.
right. We have a lot of musicians in our program for some reason. We have a Keck Music Society and they are amazing. So
So the other question was, applying MD-PhD decrease your chances to an MD program. What if you don't get into an MD-PhD program? Can you still be considered for MD program?
Yeah. Both programs will review your application, and if you don't get accepted to the PhD portion, you can still be offered a spot in the regular MD program if you meet the if you meet the criteria.
So this is another question. This person is a USC alum and has completed their MPH MSW at USC, and they contacted the admission office about that, and would they be accepted without their prereqs, and should they start taking their prereqs, apply to a post-bac, or study for the MCAT?
Yeah, well, as a USC alum, you have access to the Dornsife pre-health advising office, and you should go there and talk with them. They know everything about our MD program, and they can help you prepare, let you they can kind of coach you on what you need to do to prepare for medical school applications. We actually I'm not sure what the beginning part of that.
So the only thing is that I would just say is that you have to take the MCAT, and without taking the courses like organic chemistry, biochemistry, like that's 25% of the entire MCAT. So if you haven't taken 1 year of organic chemistry and 1 semester of biochem, that's 25% of the MCAT. Biology is another, I think 27%. So like those classes, and in physics, I think it's like 15% or something. And so those classes, if you haven't taken them, it's going to be really, really hard to take the MCAT. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to go start running a marathon, but I haven't ran more than 100 meters.
Right.
So you gotta go run a couple of, 10, 15 miles for you to be ready for that 26-mile marathon. And so, yeah, and so then I would just say then, so taking those courses either through post-bac at a community college, you obviously academically you've finished 2 master's degree. That's more than the average person. So you're obviously a strong academic person to be able to do those. But yeah, it's just going to be really hard for the MCAT. I think it's going to be challenging, and you have to, take that, beast of a test.
And we don't, like I said before, we don't have any require any prerequisite coursework. So yeah, you will have to work with someone to, craft your preparation for the, like Jobin was just saying, for the MCAT. But we don't require any specific courses. We leave it up to you. So make sure you work with a pre-health professional that can help you, help you create a preparation strategy that's right for you.
So the other question, yeah, again, this is another question just came up. I think it's like 3 of them. It doesn't matter, I guess, and I don't want to put word in your mouth. How do you view UC students versus non-UC students?
I think, year after year, we accept more UCLA undergrads than any other school, including USC. So I think they must have a really great program that really prepares people for medical school. And by the way, UCLA puts out the most pre-med applicants of any school in the country. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, most USC or UC systems applicants, they are academically pretty sound, and they do well. I think last year we accepted it was probably 35 UCLA undergrads, about 33 USC undergrads, and then it just kind of trickled from there. But yeah, but again, it's not necessarily the school, it's your performance that matters.
The other question is, if yeah, so I think this is like 3 other questions that came up about LORs. If it's a year old, it's, it should be fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine. We don't have a time limit on that.
The other question I have, the other question that's come up, is shadowing considered different, inferior to clinical volunteering or scribing or clinical experience?
It's not necessarily inferior, but any hands-on experience you have in a medical setting is going to be a little more valuable in that the reviewer is going to be able to see, like, you've actually had some experience. You can make a decision on whether or not this career path is right for you. Whereas like shadowing, you kind of just shadowing. I mean, it's great to shadow, and that's a valued experience. But I think, yeah, any experience you have in a clinical setting, working around other health care professionals that's gonna actually, demonstrate that you've seen what it looks like, and you kind of have a really good sense of what you're getting yourself into for the reviewer.
So what are some of the reasons people get rejected?
I
Like,
think, you know,
I would say this one, making a mistake on your application, like not turning in something,
yeah,
not uploading your transcript.
that happens a lot. Like, or you know, forgetting to, like, you know, I've seen applications come through and look at the secondary part, and it just has little, like, you know, QWERT or something in the text box because they forgot to upload the, you know, the responses. It's not funny, but, you know, people do that. But I think that, to me, that the weak applications, to me, are the ones where they're just not personable enough, you know, and they're focusing too much on their metrics, and then I think they believe that, you know, people aren't reading their personal statements, or, you know, it's just like some kind of perfunctory thing that they have to do. Now, people are actually reading that stuff, and, you know, and they're expecting to learn more about you, and that I think the applicants that aren't successful, many of them fail in that regard. They might otherwise be great applicants, and, you know, maybe even go on to be great physicians, but you know, they don't pay enough attention to that part of the process.
Yeah, and I can just tell you, for someone that's read application, not for medical school or anything, but just like places that I've worked, or even for our leadership that people apply here, the hardest thing is if your applications or your essay have grammar errors and it's just hard to read. It just becomes very painful, and Mr. Richards could attest to this, how challenging that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know, our reviewers, you know, they review hundreds, thousands of applications. So you can imagine, you know, after a while, you know, you see, you know, these mistakes, and, you know, sentences that don't go anywhere. You know, yeah, it can be draining. Mistakes. One thing that I noticed with since I've been doing this for like about 10 years now, is like, everywhere on the website and MSAR, it says, we do not take updates, you know, and we have a thing about the letters of recommendation, no more than 3 individual letters. And you'll be surprised, like, hundreds of people send like 6, 7, 10 letters, you know, and then they call or write, and they want to, you know, choose which ones you evaluate, and, you know, like, don't be those people.
So this is something that I would say, if you're applying to medical school, college, job, if they put that information on there, that's what they exactly want. Don't deviate from it, because the only thing it does is frustrates them, and you're not gonna look somebody that's more eager, but it's a negative reflection on you and not following that instruction. Like, that is like the biggest thing that I know. Like, for a job that I was working, I was in charge of recruiting, and believe it or not, we like had every single thing, and it was actually a public place that you worked. People weren't following that instruction, and I could tell you that none of those people that got this position. So for medical school, and this is what Mr. Richards just said, follow exactly what they ask you to do. You're not going to be special if you deviate from that. You're going to be unspecial. Like, this is the biggest thing that you always like tell people, is like, do exactly what they ask you to do. It's because they have taken this time to develop this process. They have taken the time to write it, to post it, to reiterate it. So please, 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 one thing, if you could learn from this, is if they tell you to jump, you know, you should, you know, or if they tell you to jump 10 feet, jump 10 feet. Don't jump 11 or 9. And then also, whenever, the other part is, whatever is recommended, take it as required. If they recommend something, they're not doing it because everybody else that's going to apply, they're going to do it. And if you don't do it, then it's going to be that different. This is a couple more questions. What are some general tips for community college students that want to go into medical school?
Yeah, I would just buckle down, take it seriously, and do as well as you can in every class that you take. Another thing too, like while you're preparing for medical school, another thing you need to be preparing is your professional demeanor. You know, Like, you know, pay attention to other professionals you interact with, be they teachers, professors, you know, people you're shadowing, you know, and see how they operate, you know, and try to figure out like, well, what kind of professional do I want to be, you know, and with that fits my personality. And you want to start developing that in your interactions with people, even at that level. But you definitely you want to be committed to whatever academic program you are in, you know, be it at the community college level, undergraduate level, post-bac, you know, you want to be all in, committed, and focused on doing well in that. Don't just, you know, don't treat it like it's, you know, like it's a take it or leave it kind of thing, you know. Don't take it lightly. Like I mentioned before, you know, not everybody's going to get into medical school, and you don't want to have your efforts just be throwaway efforts because, you know, you didn't get into medical school. So now all this stuff I did over these last couple of years is just, you know, I took that class and it was, you know, it was stupid. I shouldn't have took it. You know, you don't want to be like that. You want, you know, take classes, one thing that you want to take, and that, you know, and find a way to find interest in them and you know, make them interesting if they're, you know, and engage like that, because if you don't get into medical school, you don't want to be sitting around thinking I did all this work and, you know, for nothing. You don't want it to be for nothing. You want to be able to seize that momentum that you're going to create in this preparation, and no matter what direction you go in after this, you'll be ready. You know, this stuff that will serve you, you know.
Yes. So the thing is that, again, this is, people are asking about the whole Spanish question. And this is just the only thing I would answer. It's 56% of people in LA speak Spanish, and 33% of people in Los Angeles County only speak Spanish. So that's why USC has, you know, a large number of patient in population. And the other part of it too, unfortunately, a lot of the people that only speak Spanish are, you know, are immigrants or, you know, and so an undocumented patient. So that's just what it is. Like California, I mean, Los Angeles did belong to Mexico a couple of years ago. So the other question somebody wanted to ask is, are there student-run clinics at USC?
There is, yeah, there's a student-run clinic that's in conjunction with the pharmacy program, occupational therapy, and a couple of other programs. But yeah, it's totally student-run clinic with a faculty advisorship. Yes, very popular program. And we got that, and like I said, we have the student interest groups in the various subspecialties, and they do different community engagement, like health education activities and things like that. They kind of set their own agenda with those types of activities.
So people are asking about scholarships, financial aid. You make people put, you know, take their credit cards the first day of medical school, and you know, and do they have to pay the first day for the 4 years? Do they need to pull up a Brink truck?
Right, you know, it kind of, I'm sure it feels like that, but we actually do offer, our class size is 186. We typically offer anywhere from like 40 to 45 1- and 2-year full tuition scholarships. So that to help offset the tuition to the incoming class. But once people matriculate, we do have what's called the Norman Topping Fund, and it's comprised of various donors that contribute money for scholarships for students, and those scholarships are that they offer are available throughout the 4 years of medical school, and hopefully students can at least offset some of the costs. But yeah, the average debt, I think, is $240,000 people leaving medical school. So so that's a real concern, and you know, and that's something like as part of your preparation. You know, if you're still in community college, you're going to go through undergraduate. You know, you need to be looking at that now, like looking at different nonprofit organizations that that provide funding and different funding opportunities for medical school students, so that when you do get accepted, you'll have places that you can try and tap for funds as well on your own outside of the financial aid office.
Yeah, and I could tell you that if you graduate from medical school and you're working, I have not met any doctors that you could buy a house, you live very comfortably, you make that money back. And again, this is one of those things you should not worry about. There's hundreds of things to worry about. You're going to pay off your student loans. California has a lot of programs. They have if you're in an underserved area, they give you up to $300,000 if you commit a couple of years. There's the National Health Service Corps. There's there's whole like I said, there's also a lot of physician groups like Kaiser. If you're willing to go in a area that they need specialists or whatever your specialty is, they give you 0% interest rate. They give you down payments. They pay off some of your student loans. So yeah. The other question is, what if you take the MCAT more than once? What's the maximum number of times you should take the MCAT?
Hopefully one and done, but I would say two, maybe. Depends on what your score is too. One thing you want to guard against, like if you have a score that's decent, you don't want to try to keep taking it to get a perfect score, because that just looks like you're perfectionist, and it just kind of just sends a flag up. But yeah, I would say also you need to talk to your pre-health advisor about that, because it all depends. Like most people that I've seen that retake the MCAT, they don't improve by more than 1 or 2 points most of the time. And sometimes they even do worse than they did the first time. So you really want to, make sure that if you're going to retake it, one, can you put in the time to adequately study for it to ensure that you're going to, make a significant jump in it. Then another thing to consider is this, like, look at the MSAR and look at, the median MCATs of accepted students around the country in different schools. And where do you fall in that? And which schools? And look at that, one thing, don't be stuck on any one school. The main thing is that you get into a medical school and that you graduate, get a degree, and go on to become a doctor. So, don't get stuck like, I got to get into Keck or Stanford or whatever it is. You got to get into a medical school. And so you want to be applying at places where you are competitive, with their applicant pool. And if you are competitive, then, think twice about retaking the MCAT.
Yeah. And then the other question is, this person's a post-bac student. They're taking the MCAT on July 28th. And this has been a big obstacle for them. Should they push it back because of the MCAT if they don't score, or should they apply or take it again by September 30th?
In the same cycle.
And then want to apply this cycle.
If you take an MCAT and you don't do well on it, I think the chances are very low that you're going to just turn around in 2 months and all of a sudden be, significantly better at it than you were that first time. So like I said, that's something you want to talk over with a pre-health advisor, because, they can kind of gauge your preparedness, in more detail than I can. But, you don't want to it's not a lottery. You need to be practicing, taking practice tests, hitting your goals in practice. You need to take the long view on this. You shouldn't just look at it as I'm just going to try it, and if I don't get in, I'll just go do something else. That's you don't want to think about it like that. You want to make sure you can give yourself adequate time to prepare and do well, and give yourself a chance to do well. Because I see that all the time in this application process. People will not do so well, and then they'll take it 2 months later, and if you didn't do well, after a year of studying or whatever it was, in 2 months, you're probably not going to increase your score by that much, if at all. So you need to be realistic about the amount of time you're going to need to study this stuff.
Yeah, we have actually a lot of sessions on MCAT that you could look on our website. I think we have something like 15 hours worth of MCAT breakdown. The one thing that I would just say with the MCAT is if you have to take practice exams, you have to take 8 or 9. I think that's what's recommended by experts. So if your practice exams you're getting 490, you probably should do something a little bit differently to improve that. But if you're getting 515, 510, then you should be fine. This question, they want to know if you participate in the Keck summer research program as an undergraduate, does it demonstrate the admission committee that you want to attend Keck USC Medical School?
Well, it can't hurt, we look at it as an opportunity for you to just kind of get your feet wet with the Keck experience, because in those summer research programs, you're probably going to be doing some research with some of our students as well as faculty. You can just kind of get a feeling for what campus life, student life might be like. And some people do go on to get accepted into the MD program. So, but it's not like we're like poaching from that program, or it's like some kind of pipeline thing or anything like that. It's just almost like a public service that we do just so people can gain experience and see what that Keck academic research experience is like.
Yeah, I would just say that if you're there and you do a really good job and they really like you and write you a letter of recommendation, it will help. But I could just tell you that medicine is very, very small and everybody knows everyone. So if you're a good person, people will hear about it. And if you're a bad person, that they will hear about it as well. So it's a very small community. You will be surprised. I mean, just from doing these sessions, I actually just like emailed someone to speak, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, I know this person, and I know this person, and I heard about you from this person." And these were like people that are totally across the country, and so I'm just letting you know it's a very small community. And if you are doing a summer program, be on your best behavior, get a good letter, because they will know more about your that than and so this is another question, and this is actually, gosh, we're keeping you here longer than we should. Then we have to then I have to be in indebted servitude for keeping you too long. This is a question about people asking about secondary application, and what is the question is the secondary application. What is some of the applications that when you look at the secondary application, what are the things that you look for, and what are some errors people are making?
Yeah, I think one of the things we look for is that people just answer the questions openly and in a straightforward manner without trying to hold back and kind of hedge on their answers or giving artificial answers. It's like I said before, the questions that are asked are very lighthearted questions. A couple of the questions are, what's the most fun you've had lately? If you had to give yourself a nickname, what would it be? How would you allocate your charitable contributions if you had abundance of wealth? Things like that. And we just expect you to just answer them, and have fun with them and just answer them forthrightly. Some people, like I've seen people, for some reason that nickname question gets on some people's nerves. Like I've seen people not want to answer that. Like, you can't give yourself a nickname and be standoffish like that, so that right there tells a lot about that person. So just play along with it. Just, and just look at it as an opportunity to show a little bit more about your personality, because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do with your application, your written application. You want to humanize your application. And so that's just another opportunity to do that. And some of the mistakes I see people make is, yeah, they have guarded answers or just like superficial answers that just sounds like they're just trying to say what you want to hear. You know, we want to see your personality. We don't want to, you know, hear perfection or anything like that. And that's in that setting, you know. So yeah, we just want you to relax and show us who you are.
So I'm gonna I have to get going. Actually, I start work in 6 minutes. And yeah, I'm at work doing this, so I start work in 6 minutes. So if I don't go out there, my partners will drag me out. So, do letters of recommendation have to be from a physician, or can it be just from anyone or doctor?
With us, it can be from any one of your choosing. But most people, when they send the individual letter, it'll be like 2 letters from like physicians or professors, and one kind of more personal endorsement type of letter. But we don't put any stipulations on that. It can be from anyone you choose.
The other question is, do honors classes have an impact, and are they viewed differently than regular classes?
You know, they're just looked at in the context of your overall body of work. You know, the reviewers aren't trying to award blue ribbons. They just want to make sure, like I said, that you look like you can get through our medical school curriculum. So you know, that honors classes would you know, they wouldn't hurt, that's for sure. But you know, that's just one component of your overall application. So
the other question, I think, out of state doesn't matter. And then I think that's it. I think that I'll post the scholarship link into the chat as well. You could look at the various programs that they have.
And my email address, you can post that if you have any questions.
Yeah,
I'm happy to try and answer any questions that I can there.
Yeah, if I don't go in like 2-3 minutes. Any last words of advice that you have, Mr. Richards, before we let you go, or I get dragged out? One or the other.
Yeah, I would just say, like I said, just take the preparation process, to heart, and try to make it as meaningful for you as you can. And I think that will help you, create your materials in a way that has you speaking in your authentic voice, and will make a more compelling read for reviewers. Really use this preparation process as a tool for your growth and development, aside from just checking the medical school application box. So make it real for you, so that it can be of real value to you. And I think you will be better served by that.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, my apologies, we couldn't get every question answered.